In this video we are going to take a closer look at the June Deathwatch tournament results, which for the most part marked the end of War Zone Nachmund and the by now old way to go about spending CP. The tournaments covered are the Terracon, Atlantic City Open, Into the Tempest, Deck Box Masters GT, Maryland Open, as well as the Battle Ready Southern Showdown for the K Major. Over the course of the video, we will go through all the relevant results and lists in an attempt to find out whether the Deathwatch supplement still stands a chance against the newer and more powerful codex releases. For the final part, I will offer my personal conclusions and a quick wrap-up.
Welcome to SwissHammer, your channel for modeling in Warhammer 40k. My name is Tammer, and I will be guiding you through this video.
The last weekend of June marked a big moment for Warhammer 40k 9th edition with the release of chapter-approved War Zone Nephilim, the hotly debated CP changes, as well as the points rebalance. This also means that the large majority of tournaments having taken place in June followed the by now old War Zone Nachmund rules, and in fact out of the 6 tournaments covered in this video, all were still playing by those. Nonetheless, what better opportunity to look into a few successful Deathwatch lists in an attempt to find out how these will fare in War Zone Nephilim in the near future. For a full review of all the War Zone Nephilim changes and what it means for the Deathwatch, feel free to check out my video linked in the description. Jumping right into the first tournament, Terracon, an event that took place early June, featuring 98 players over 6 rounds. Here we have Rhys Cunningham with Deathwatch on rank 21, the second best Space Marines player of the tournament behind Dark Angels on rank 3, going 4-2. His matchups were round 1 a win against Sisters, round 2 a loss against Grey Knights, round 3 to 5 wins against Death Guard, Nits and Tau, followed by a loss in round 6 against Nits. For his list, he played the Army of Renown, starting relatively low at 7 CP. For HQs, he had a Chief Librarian, though it looks like he forgot to pick a 3rd power. He then also had the Primaris Chaplain on bike upgraded to Master of Sanctity and with the Beacon and Chalice, as well as a Watchmaster with the Worken. Pretty classic HQ picks there. For troops, he ran double Indomitor, 2 times the Boltstorm Aggressors and Inceptor combo, then 2 Proteus kill teams with a single Terminator, and Heavy Thunder Hammers moved to the Van Vets and the Sergeant. This setup is very close to the Clangby style iteration that we have seen during the May tournaments. Then lastly, he has a Spectre's kill team with just the 5 infiltrators and the specialism tax to pay, always heard stat 1, as well as a Chief Apothecary with Selfless Healer carrying the tool. Aside from the gap filler Spectre's kill team, I think this is a fairly solid list, but also one that would no longer work due to the drastic CP changes of War Zone Nephilim, which would require to drop a couple of extra relics and or warlord traits. On the bright side of things, the reduced cost of specialisms would allow for some additional war gear. Moving on to the second tournament, the Atlantic City Open 2022, an event with 181 players over 6 rounds. Here we have Andrew Sotas on rank 62, going 3-1-2 with the Army of Renown. His matchups were round 1 a win against Death Guard, round 2 a win against Chaos Knights, round 3 a win against Tau, followed by 2 losses round 4 against Nits and round 5 against Craftworlds, and then finally a draw against Thousand Suns for the last game. For his list, he also started relatively low for an Army of Renown list at 7 CP with the following HQs. A Phobos Librarian carrying the Beacon and Chalice, always great to see that pick. Then a Primaris Chaplain on bike upgraded to Master of Sanctity and turned into more of a beatstick with Mantra of Strength and the Salamander's Anvil of Strength. Last but not least, we also have a Watchmaster carrying the tool. For troops, he went with 4 kill teams only, a Forest kill team with Assault Hellblasters, an Indomitor kill team with 5 Boltstorm Aggressors, 1 heavily kitted out Proteus kill team with Hammers, Cyclone Missile Launchers and a lot of Stormbolters, and then finally a Spectre's kill team with 5 Last Fossil Eliminators. This left him with enough points to squeeze in a Primaris Apothecary as well as a Corvus Blackstar. As with the list before, he packed a lot of extra relics and warlord traits, which he would have to tone down a notch now with War Zone Nephilim, but the cool thing is that it also drops by a full 45 points, 20 from specialisms and 25 from the Lost Fuzzils now being free. Overall, I think this is a decent way to go about playing with 4 kill teams. Moving on to the third tournament, into the Tempest, a small event featuring 26 players over 5 rounds. Here we have Kevin Cochrane on rank 5, going 3-2, playing the Deathwatch Army of Renown. His matchups were round 1 a loss against Chaos Knights, round 2 a win against Blood Angels, round 3 a loss against Custodes, followed by 2 wins against Imperial Fists and White Scars. Looking at his list, he played the Army of Renown starting with 8 CP, with a foot-slogging Primaris Chaplain and a Watchmaster loaded with the Tomb, Xenos Bane and Paragon of their chapter Ultramarines for HQs. For troops, we then have 4 Costello-inspired kill teams, as well as 2 more with a mixture of cheap wets and frag cannons. That's right, this list managed to squeeze in 6 kill teams at the expense of the Librarian or any further support characters for that matter. With 6 mandatory specialisms, this list will drop by 30 points thanks to the Nephilim discounts, but on the other hand, it will also drop down to 0 starting CP, which will require some cutting back on traits and relics, as expected. Either way, it is interesting to see an attempt with 6 kill teams doing well, no small thanks of course to the immense flexibility of the Proteus kill teams. Moving on to the fourth tournament, the Deckbox Masters Grand Tournament, an event featuring 27 players over 5 rounds. Here we have Sean de Ross, one of my patrons and veteran viewer of the channel on rank 14, going 3-2, playing the Deathwatch Army of Renown. His matchups were a round 1 loss against the Clowns, a round 2 loss against Thousand Suns, followed by 3 wins against Double Death Guard and Tyranids. For his list, with a starting CP of 9 in his AOR list, he brought along the Indomitus Captain with optimized priority and the Primaris Chaplain on bike with the Beacon as HQs. For troops, he rocked 2 for his kill teams, one with Assault Hellblasters and the other with Outriders, followed by an Indomitor kill team with Eradicators, a Proteus kill team with a ton of hammers, and a Spectrus kill team with 4 Last Fossil Eliminators, and a single Incursor with a Haywire Mine. This combo is interesting because you can combat squad the 4 Eliminators with the Helix Adept, and then give the Incursor with the Haywire Mine to the remaining Infiltrators, making this combat squad quite annoying to charge. As it happens, this list is also a big winner when it comes to the Nephilim points changes, with a 25 points discount from the Outriders, 20 from Lost Fuzzils and 25 from Specialisms, making this list go a full 70 points cheaper, almost enough to squeeze in a Librarian, perhaps by dropping some of the war gear. Either way, congratulations on the great result, Sean. It was a pleasant surprise to see your name pop up at a tournament. Then moving on to the 5th tournament, the Maryland Open Super Major, an event featuring 79 players over 6 rounds. Here we have Mark Hurtle on rank 31, going 3-2 with the Deathwatch Army of Renown. His matchups were a round 1 win against Orcs, round 2 loss against Craftworlds, round 3 win against Tau, round 4 win against Clowns, and a round 5 loss against the Sisters. For his list, as HQs, he had the Librarian in Phobos armor with the Tomb, a Primaris Chaplain on bike with the Beacon, and a Watchmaster with Xenos Bane. For troops, he rocked 4 Proteus kill teams, 1 loaded with Cyclone missile launchers and Infernus heavy bolters, 1 going Costello style, 1 with infantry bikers, and 1 paying homage to Costello, but with Melta guns and storm shields for the veterans. Last but not least, a Spectrus kill team with 5 Reavers, the cheapest way to run it. Overall, this list now benefits from the discounts to specialisms, perhaps allowing Eliminators to replace the Reavers, and the CP changes most likely require a cutting of relics and warlord traits. Then moving on to the 6th and final tournament, the Battle Ready Southern Showdown 40k Major, an event featuring 68 players over 5 rounds. On rank 13, we have Jason Temple going 3-1-1 with the Deathwatch Army of Renown, an excellent result for such a large event. His matchups were a round 1 draw against Black Templars, a round 2 win against Ultramarines, a round 3 loss against Custodes, followed by 2 more wins against Clowns and Dark Angels. He sure played a lot of Space Marines and lost none of those games. For his list, this one is pretty original, with the double librarians. One comes with the Jump Pack, the Armor Indomitus, and has Null Zone and Psychic Fortress as psychic powers. The other one then is more classic Deathwatch, with Primorphic Resonance, fortified with Contempt, and the paragon of their chapter Ultramarines Warlord trait. He then also has a Primaris Chaplain on bike with the Beacon and Chalice, meaning that he is going without Captain or Watchmaster. For troops, he rocks double Indomitors, one with Flamestorm and one with Boltstorm Aggressors, and a single Inceptor in each. He then has a Clangby style adaptation of the Proteus kill team, and last but not least, a Spectre's kill team with 4 Sniper Eliminators and Lord of Deceit on the Sergeant. This list will drop by 25 points due to specialisms, and it would also be possible to upgrade the Eliminators to Last Fossils for free, which I think is sensible. I would also put the Helix Adept in at this point. All in all, I think it is fair to say that little changed for Deathwatch during the June tournaments, with the more successful lists hovering around the 3-2 result that we very commonly see for Deathwatch nowadays, but nonetheless, I think as the previously mentioned result by Jason Temple demonstrates, Deathwatch can still do well at major events, perhaps given a bit of luck with matchups as well. Due to these tournaments still playing by the old rules, it is difficult to predict where we will be going in the upcoming weeks and months, but I think what goes for all those lists is that they drop in points, at the very least due to specialisms, and those that run eliminators basically get a free upgrade on top. But in turn, I think the average amount of order traits and or relic has to go down. In my previous video reviewing the War Zone Nephilim changes, I briefly went into the pros and cons of Adept of the Codex, which I think offers less overall benefit with the new CP changes, due to its benefits likely shifting to later rounds, where they are now less useful. In addition to this, it remains to be seen whether Army of Renown lists continue to be the top meta pick for Deathwatch, due to early turn Alpha Strike's potential of Specialism Extremis having taken a dent. Nonetheless, apart from the very stratagem-dependent Indomitor kill team with Boltstorm Aggressors, I think we have plenty of viable kill team compositions remaining that can be carried over to the new format. One of the big winners is of course the Spectre's kill team with 5 Eliminators, which I expect to appear even more commonly than it already did before. I will certainly not let go of mine. To wrap things up, over the course of the video, we have looked at Deathwatch June tournament results, including the Terracon, Atlantic City Open, Into the Tempest, Deckbox Masters GT, Maryland Open, as well as the Battle Ready Southern Showdown 40k Major. These tournaments all played by the old War Zone Nachmund rules, and overall, very little changed for Deathwatch. The Army of Renown was still the most competitive way to play, we have seen little new in terms of kill team compositions, and the average results seem to hover around the 3-2 mark. Nonetheless, what stood out to me were the continued appearance of the double Indomitor lists, and also Jason Temple taking a very original approach to the Deathwatch Army of Renown with double librarians. For War Zone Nephilim, while every competitive list will benefit from at least 20 to 25 point specialism discount, and potentially free Eliminator Last Fossil upgrades, I think we as a faction really have to go back to the drawing board when it comes to taking Warlord traits, relics, and for the Army of Renown in particular, prioritizing stratagems. While some kill teams appear to play particularly well into the upcoming meta, I'm thinking Spectre's kill teams with Eliminators and Forest kill teams with Assault Hellblasters here. The Indomitor kill team might be overdue for some changes, for instance moving away from a big blob with Boltstorm Aggressors and perhaps focusing on combat squads with different loadouts or even different data sheets. As always, the Proteus kill team remains highly flexible, and I think any Costello-style iteration can be made to work in the new setting. Overall, while the Army of Renown remains a very potent contender thanks to the army-wide access to different chapter tactics, it may now also be a good moment to look into alternatives. So that's it for the Deathwatch June tournament results and the continued appearances of our Army of Renown. What do you guys think about these particular lists, and do you think that the Kill Team Strike Force has any chance to make the big breakthrough and winning a tournament in the new War Zone Nephilim setting? What kind of changes are you planning to your own lists? Let me know in the comments. Finally, I would also like to mention that there is a SwissHammer Facebook page where I will be posting links to my videos as well as articles I find of interest. I do read a lot about the hobby, but not all of it will always end up as its own video. I look forward to seeing you there as well. I do also have a Patreon page. If you like my content, any additional support is greatly appreciated as it helps me invest into future videos. As always, thank you very much for watching, guys. Your continued support is greatly appreciated. I hope you have been enjoying this video. Give me a thumbs up if you did, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done so already. Thanks again and see you next time.